Once the crown jewel of freestyle skiing and snowboarding, the halfpipe is, well, now practically extinct, with less than 6% of ski areas still cutting one. So what happened to the sport's most iconic shape? What's going on, Midwest skiers and riders? Matthew Zaransky with MidwestSkiers.com, and today we are talking about pipes. Well, specifically half of one. But where did the idea for airing out of the side of a pipe even come from? Well, before snowboarding was even a thing, people were already trying to surf on snow. As early as the 1930s, inventors were standing on sled-like contraptions to ride snowy hills. But it wasn't until the 1960s that snowboarding, or snurfing as it would be briefly called, really hit the mainstream. In 1965, Sherman Poppin had a similar idea as he bolted two skis together and added a rope, inventing the snurfer, snow surf. He sold the idea to the Brunswick Corporation and they sold almost 1 million units. But as many things do, the snurfer began to morph into the board that more closely mirrors what we see today. By the late 70s, snowboards were evolving fast, adding steel edges, fiberglass, and more importantly, bindings. Suddenly, riders could actually control their boards, which unlocked tricks, air, and creativity. And this is where the halfpipe begins to enter the picture. At the time, skateboarders were already riding drainage ditches and pools, searching for that perfect transition. You know, the shape of a curled wave, as all of these sports were inspired by surfing. And as it turns out, snow-covered creeks, well, they look just like frozen waves. The perfect environment for these early riders, as snowboarding was typically not allowed at ski areas across the country. And thus, the hunt for stunt ditches officially began. And this led to the discovery of the Tahoe City Pipe in 1979. Mark Analik found this spot on sanitation company land, or as most people would just call it, the dump. It had a single entry and really there were only a few hits, but word spread fast throughout the community and it became a closely guarded secret. Tom Sims was allegedly even blindfolded to be taken there. People also rode natural quarter pipes like a Donner Pipe near Sugar Bowl and Donner Ski Ranch starting around 1982. But all of these spots were really just modified natural zones, not true halfpipes, well, at least what we know today. By today's standards, these certainly weren't much. Just 1 or 2 hits and required a ton of shoveling. Riders often spent more time shaping than actually riding. And with the early gears such as bungee bindings, it wasn't about getting big air, it was simply just about hitting the other wall. But a big shift came in 1983 when the scene moved to man-made terrain. Tom Sims organized the first World Championships at Soda Springs, California, which featured the first constructed snowboard halfpipe. Sims had to lobby resort management, and the truth is, well, this pipe wasn't really a pipe at all. Keith Kimmel described it as just 2 rows of snow chunks about 4 feet high. But even a bad pipe got people thinking, and the idea that a resort could eventually use machines to shape this into an actually rideable pipe would be revolutionary. By 84 and 85, the pipes at Soda Springs got better, allowing riders to boost air. Then the World Championships moved to Breckenridge, Colorado in 1986. Breckenridge started building better pipes, and by 1987, they actually had the first permanent snowboard pipe at a ski resort. This attracted so much attention, other resorts began to realize the draw of pipes. And by 1988, the US Open added a brand new event. Yeah, halfpipe. But the game changer, the thing that made consistent halfpipes truly possible, arrived in 1990 with Doug Waugh's Pipe Dragon. Doug, a farmer/engineer, built a specialized groomer that could cut perfectly smooth pipe wall. Before this, pipes were inconsistent and usually hand-shaped. The Pipe Dragon made it easier and cheaper for resorts, leading to a huge boom in halfpipes everywhere. Later, the Swiss Zog would arrive on scene, which is actually still being produced and used today. With consistent machine-cut pipes becoming common, riders could start to push the limits, and they certainly did. With riders throwing down bigger and better, halfpipes became media magnets. By the 1990s, snowboarding was mainstream, and the ultimate validation came in 1998 when it hit the Olympic stage in Nagano. The halfpipe was the sport's largest draw and was talked about on the world's biggest platform. Tricks evolved ridiculously fast, and a dramatic example of this was Shaun White's progression from 2006 to 2018. He went from needing 1080s to land podiums in 2006 to landing groundbreaking tricks like the double McTwist 1260 in 2010 and a cab double cork 1440 in 2014. And yes, he did have his own private superpipe, airbag, and over-the-top training regimen, but there is no denying the progression the sport made in those 12 years. And the groundwork for this progression? Well, pipes got bigger, like a lot bigger. The Olympic pipes nearly doubled in size from around 12 feet high in 1990 to 18 feet, then to 22 feet. They also got a lot longer and geometrically changed from half circles to more oval shapes, allowing riders more speed and setup time. And this, coupled with airbags for training, meant that athletes could now send it bigger than ever before. But halfpipe riding was at its peak. Shaun White was beating American Idol in ratings. It literally felt like the halfpipe was going to rule winter sports. But right when halfpipe riding felt like it was at its pinnacle, something started to crack. Despite the Olympic spotlight, the number of halfpipes at resorts began dropping, and dropping fast. According to one source in 2018, only 13% of US resorts had a halfpipe, down from 34% a decade prior. Although it's hard to get 100% accurate data, I was only able to confirm about 25 pipes across the entire country. And with about 480 ski areas in operation today, that means that only about 6% of ski areas in the US have a halfpipe. From Olympic glory to quietly being bulldozed off of maps, how did the halfpipe fall so far, so fast? Well, several factors drove this decline. First, size. The same thing that fueled the progression started scaring people away. Those 22-foot walls are massive and intimidating for the average rider. I've had the opportunity to ride through a few of these super pipes, and I have to say, they are absolutely terrifying. The fact is, there are only dozens of athletes who can actually ride these properly, and you guessed it, most of them are actually competing. And of course, bigger means more cost, another major factor at play here. Building and maintaining these massive pipes was seriously expensive. We're talking anywhere from $100,000 to $500,000 per season, depending on their location and size. They all require a massive amount of snow, consistent grooming, and crews that are specialized in forming and shaping them. And then there were just some serious safety concerns by resorts and the general public. Tragic accidents like the death of halfpipe ski pioneer Sarah Burke and other high-profile crashes made parents and ski areas hesitant regarding the risks involved in building halfpipes. On top of all of this, terrain parks began cropping up, and unlike pipes, parks often focus on the progression of beginners. Resorts found that they could build amazing parks with jumps, rails, and smaller features for a heck of a lot less money than building pipes. And as rails and jibs got more popular, some mountains just couldn't justify the cost and effort of a halfpipe. And it became a bit of a vicious cycle. Pipes are expensive, so fewer pipes are built. Fewer people learn to ride pipe, so demand goes down. So there's even fewer pipes built, so you kind of get the cycle here. And some are comparing it to the decline of ski jumping hills, which used to be common but then became too specialized as other skiing and riding terrain options expanded. So is the halfpipe officially dead? Should we take a moment of silence and put pipe riding to rest? Absolutely not. But the future of halfpipes might be found by revisiting its past. See, there's a growing movement to bring back mini pipes, approachable 12-foot and less versions that are fun, safe, and versatile. Beginners can learn to carve transitions, while advanced riders can still boost and get super creative, all while being easier to place in parks and cheaper to build and maintain. A focus on smaller pipes could also lead to more users, building more demand, and making pipes easier to justify from the operations standpoint. You could even argue that these smaller pipes could breed future high-level Olympians. So could smaller pipes actually save the halfpipe? I really think they could. Recently, we have seen some smaller areas dusting off old cutters and putting them back to work. Here in the Midwest, Buck Hill and the Highlands are leading that charge, each cutting small pipes that are fun, fast, and approachable. That's the exact opposite of what fueled the halfpipe's decline over the past few decades. I got to ride both of them this past season, and honestly, they reminded me why pipe riding mattered in the very first place. And with the Olympics coming in February 2026, I think now is a great time to consider building a pipe, its origins, and how we can bring these unique, fun, and historically important important elements back into the industry. I know that there is a ton of interest in smaller pipes across the freestyle community, and this could be the perfect opportunity to tap into that excitement. So if your ski area still has an old pipe cutter collecting dust in the boneyard, maybe it's time to lobby to break that thing out, replace the endless amount of rotted hoses, and cut smaller pipes. You might just bring a whole new generation into the fold. Let's bring back 12-foot pipe riding. While watching all of this like vintage 1998 Olympic footage, it got me so stoked. And yeah, maybe it's the nostalgia, but in a world obsessed with bigger and faster, rediscovering smaller, simpler fun might be exactly what our sport needs right now. But what do you guys think? Does your local hill still have a half pipe? Do you wish they still did? Let us know in the comments below. But until next time, I hope everybody has a great week. Pray for that snow and half pipes, and I'll see you out there.